So yesterday we talked about abortion pill reversal, mifepristone, RU46. We talked about the science and the numbers. Today we're going to talk about the faces behind the numbers. Going to give you some stories of women who've undergone the reversal procedure and what they have to tell us. Good morning, everybody. So yesterday we talked about abortion pill reversal, mifepristone, RU46. We talked about the science and the numbers. Today we're going to talk about the faces behind the numbers. Going to give you some stories of women who've undergone the reversal procedure and what they have to tell us. So I showed you this slide from yesterday, of course, and all the exclamation points really reveal how grateful these patients are. They really feel they've been given a new lease on life. The gratitude that I've received from patients who've, even those who've had unsuccessful reversals, just the opportunity to try to change what they've done, to undo what they've done. They are so grateful, and the gratitude that I've seen is like nothing else I've ever experienced in medicine in all my years of being a physician. So it really warms my heart, and I think it's God's way of giving positive reinforcement when you do try to do something that's good. This is our medical team that I showed you yesterday, Dr. Matthew Harrison there on the bottom. And the very grateful patient from El Paso, Texas that I helped way back there in 2009. Yesterday I mentioned about some of the challenges and barriers. So what I'm going to do here is talk about some general concepts, and then at the end of this talk, I'm going to give you some personal stories of individual women. We talked about birth defects yesterday, and we're going to go through these other ones right now: ambivalence and indecision, difficulty tracking patients, lack of emotional support, abortion clinic pressures we talked about yesterday, lack of bonding with the unborn baby, working against the clock to find a doctor. So let's talk about some of these that relate more to the patients. Well, these women are definitely ambivalent and have a lot of indecision, because otherwise they wouldn't call us and say, hey, I want to reverse the mifepristone, the RU46, I've changed my mind. But when you think about it, that ambivalence and indecision doesn't suddenly come to a stop when they request the reversal, because it still goes on. You know, all conversions of heart, they take time, they're not instantaneous. And although there are certain pivot points when people do change their minds and they go on a different path, they still have those nagging doubts, they still have that indecision. There's still that temptation from the evil one. We've all seen that. We've seen that in people who have had lives of great sin and they change their course, but sometimes they stumble back. Or we've seen it, of course, with people who are drug addicted or addicted to alcohol, and how they oftentimes will slip and have relapses. So in a way that they can have relapses, they can have indecision, they're not sure, they go back and forth. And sometimes they even change their minds a second time. After we've started the progesterone treatment, they then go on and take the second drug of the cocktail, the misoprostol or Cytotec. So we've seen that quite a few times. Or some of them have gone on and changed their minds and they go on to get surgical abortions. The influence of family and friends is particularly important. And we've had some families and friends who have been extremely supportive, and they've really been what has been the rock that's helped these women and sustain them as they go on this journey of changing their minds and reversing their medical abortions. But of course we have other families, astonishingly so. We have parents of these women who are urging them to abort their babies, who are urging these women to abort their grandchildren. And I can never understand that. They're totally misguided and they're misleading their children, of course. And then we have the boyfriends and the husbands. You know, the statistics on boyfriends in situations where there's a crisis pregnancy is that a breakup occurs almost 90% of the time. That breakup will occur whether the woman has an abortion or doesn't, and whether she has started a medical abortion, whether she reverses or not. So almost always those relationships are over right then and there. It's just they don't survive the crisis point. But many of the times these boyfriends have abandon the girls either before they even know they're pregnant, when they find out they're pregnant, it's a big time when they do abandon them, or when they tell the boyfriend, well, I want to reverse this medical abortion. So it's a great time of abandonment that they experience there. Sometimes the discomfort of the progesterone injections can be a barrier, and so, you know, these women have all sorts of things on their mind. We talked about the concern about birth defects. Well, it's one more concern to have a painful injection that they might experience. So this can be a barrier and a challenge. We have difficulty tracking these patients, and we want to track them for a couple of reasons. The most important, of course, is that we give them a lot of support. We try to plug them into pregnancy resource centers in their areas, but it really, sometimes it takes support on multi-fronts. It's a multifaceted approach, just like with any other crisis or experience that you have in your life. The more people you have supporting you, the stronger you feel. If it's just one person, you start to maybe doubt that person's perspective. But if there are a couple of different people who are calling and asking how you're doing, offering support, telling you that they're praying for you, that really makes you feel like you're in a cocoon, in a protective environment. And so we track these women for that reason, but also because we want to gather data so that we can perfect our protocols and give better advice and publish more papers so that we can convince the medical community that this is definitely a good, viable option and it ought to become a part of the standard of care. Sometimes getting data from physicians can be difficult. Sometimes tracking these women can be difficult. Sometimes they just sort of disappear and they're answering texts and phone calls back and forth with our nurses. All of a sudden, in the middle of a day, they'll stop cold answering any texts or phone calls. It's just amazing. And then sometimes, just as miraculously, they reappear. We had one about a month ago. We had lost contact with her very early in the pregnancy, and we're going to drop her out of our data set because we didn't know what had happened to her. Well, then all of a sudden she called and she said, I just delivered my baby that you helped save, and it was wonderful news. But it was just so funny how she suddenly reappeared again. Now, we talked about some abortion clinic pressures yesterday. One woman who went to an abortion center went just for a consultation to find out about this medical abortion procedure. She said before she knew it, I had a pill in one hand and a glass of water in the other, and I was swallowing it. So they really don't give them informed consent. They don't give them time to reflect. It's really a pressure-packed situation, almost like selling a car in the old days. One patient was told when she was asking the doctor if she really ought to do it, or actually when she called back after taking the first drug, the mifepristone RU46, that the abortion clinic worker told her, you really have to finish what you have started. And this is a comment that we've heard from many different patients. Almost always when they call up and they tell them they want to reverse the medical abortion, they tell them there's no chance of reversal. It's impossible to do. You have to continue what you've started already. The birth defect risk is greatly exaggerated, like I told you. And one callous abortion clinic worker told the woman who called after, who was seeking a reversal, she told her, you know, if you try to reverse this RU46, it would be like shooting your dog in the head and watching it die slowly. So let's go to the first patient. This is a magazine article that appeared in World Magazine about my first San Diego patient who had a successful reversal. Her name was Cynthia. She was 19 years old. She had a steady boyfriend and she was going to college. And both of them had big plans to do big things with their lives. And they eventually thought they probably would get married. Cynthia was Catholic, but not entirely deep in her faith. Her boyfriend, Jael, was a Protestant. And he probably had a stronger personal relationship with God, but not an entirely structured knowledge of God. And so when she found out she was pregnant, she went to her mother, whom she trusted a great deal. She had a great relationship with her mother. She said, Mom, I'm pregnant and I'm not ready to be a mother right now. I want to go to the clinic and get a medical abortion. And her mother was a very faithful Catholic woman. She was very, very distraught and did her best to try to dissuade her daughter. And over the course of several days, she talked to her at length every single day, but her daughter was really steadfast and was obstinate and wasn't willing to consider another option of granting her baby life. So finally, unfortunately, the mother, she finally fatigued, and she finally, in a sense, gave in to her child and took her to the abortion clinic herself. And she went to the abortion clinic and got all the information and took the first dose there, the mifepristone RU46 in the abortion center. Immediately her mother, Cynthia's mother, felt a great sense of remorse and regret, and she felt, of course, complicit in the attempted killing of her own grandchild. And so she got back home and she called her priest, Father Jacob Bertram in San Diego, asking for advice. Father Jacob is a very, very holy priest, and fortunately a very knowledgeable priest. He knew about our work, and he said, well, I know there's a doctor in San Diego who can help your daughter. Why don't you talk to her about that, or have her come in and talk to me? So she went to her daughter Cynthia and said, well, there's this priest who thinks he can help you, and he wants to talk to you. And Cynthia said, no, I don't want to talk to the priest. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to talk to a doctor. And it was almost time for her to take that second drug cocktail, the misoprostol. She actually had the misoprostol in her hand with a glass of water, and she put the pill in her mouth and she was ready to take it. For some reason, she decided to stop. And she spit the pill out and said, okay, I'll go talk to the priest. So she went to talk to Father Jacob, and Father Jacob said, why don't you at least talk to this doctor, see what he has to say? She said, okay, have him call me. So Father Jacob called me. I gave her a call. I talked to her and I told her, well, I think there's a chance that we can reverse this mifepristone RU46. Are you interested in doing it? So she was very indecisive. She wasn't sure. Told her about some stories of the other women we had helped. And she finally talked to her mother again. And this time her mother was able to convince her. And so it was a Friday night. I met her at the office with my wife, who's a nurse, and did an ultrasound. The baby was still alive. As soon as she saw that heart beating, she knew she wanted to try to save her baby's life. And it was just amazing. Both she and her boyfriend started crying right there in front of the ultrasound image. And there was that pivot point, that shift. And at that point, she wanted to do everything she could to save the baby. So we started the progesterone right there, gave her the first injection. She came in for the series of injections. And everything went very well. That's her son right there coming down the slide. And she's been extremely, extremely grateful. She's been a great spokesperson for our abortion pill reversal program out of her gratitude. This other story now is our Summer and Jason. Summer and Jason were in Hanford in the Central Valley of California. And we had called them and asked them if they would be willing to share some information for this talk. So she emailed me back some responses to some questions. I'm going to read those to you now. How has our life changed spiritually after our APR, after abortion pill reversal? When we were given a second chance to save our baby's life, we knew God heard us crying out for mercy. Theme of our conference. We realize now that he had his hand woven through our story all along. The timing of the reversal pill and the people who were a part of it were truly incredible. God truly blessed us with our little girl and has given us a beautiful testimony to help inspire. He has used us through our story of triumph to glorify him and his kingdom. We have never been so fulfilled since fully surrendering our hearts to the Lord, all because of a little girl. I find this interesting because salvation came to us initially through the birth of a little child, Jesus in the manger. And now, in a way, salvation came to them through this little girl, and how God works through the most innocent to help all of us. What was my experience like at the clinic? At the Planned Parenthood clinic, I was treated very coldly, to say the least, like a cow in a chute waiting to be branded. A dirty deed waiting to be committed, and then on to the next like it was no big deal. Insensitive to the fact that I was about ready to make the worst, most life-altering decision I would forever regret and haunt me for the rest of my days. Can you imagine being treated like a cow ready to be branded? A totally dehumanizing experience. To have the doctor look me in the eye and tell me it would be normal if a significant amount of blood and even the fetus became present the day following taking the abortion pills, with absolutely no remorse whatsoever. It was a numbing experience I would never want anyone to endure. What would my advice to women be? If I could sit down and talk face to face with each and every lady out there contemplating on whether or not to abort her baby, I'd say one thing quite frankly, choose life. Whether you choose to raise your child yourself or choose adoption, you will never, not once in your life, regret choosing life for your precious baby. They will transform your heart from the inside out and make you be the best you can possibly be. Becoming a mother has been the most beautiful, rewarding experience I've ever known. It's crazy to think you're in love from the instant they lay that precious crying baby on your chest for the very first time. It's a surreal moment. A whole new level of love takes place. I find myself tearing up, staring at our daughter, sometimes thinking to myself, wow, look what I would have missed out on. I don't ever want to. He, meaning God, knew how badly I needed this little girl in my life at the precise moment she entered it. He turns beauty from ashes, and I am forever grateful for my second chance of that beauty of eternity. This verse rings true in my heart and has been prevalent to me in my life. From Jeremiah 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future. This hope is what it's all about. Okay, now we're going to play a little video clip here. Let me just try pressing this, Father. This is Rebecca's story, and this is at the Walk for Life West Coast back in January. And it'll be my introduction of her, and then she'll give her story. Right there you go. Good afternoon, Walk for Life West Coast. I'm Dr. George Delgado, the Medical Director of Abortion Pill Reversal ABR. And I have the distinct honor and pleasure today to introduce to you a very courageous young lady. But before I do that, I have a very special message. It may not be too late to save a life. Mifepristone RU46 is the abortion pill. Over 2 million babies in the United States have been aborted using Mifepristone RU46. 18 to 20% of all abortions these days are performed with RU486. The abortion pill reversal program offers an alternative to women who change their mind. We've developed a protocol to reverse the effects of Mifepristone RU486. My colleague, Dr. Mary Davenport, thank you. My colleague, Dr. Mary Davenport, and I have published the first article in the medical literature describing the reversal of Mifepristone. We have over 200 doctors across the country in our network, and we've helped women in 35 states and in 6 foreign countries. "75 women have chosen to reverse the effects of Mifepristone, and they've delivered babies, all healthy and with no birth defects. Another 75 or more are currently pregnant with healthy babies. We need your help to get the word out so that women know that if they change their minds, they do have a second chance for life, that there may be a chance to save their babies. We need more doctors, more nurses, more pregnancy resource centers in our network. So please visit our website, abortionpillreversal.com. And now it's my distinct honor to introduce to you Becky Buell and her 15-month-old son, Zechariah. Becky wanted a second chance, and she called our hotline and talked to our nurse, Debbie, who connected her with Dr. Tony Mraz at North Valley Family Physicians in Colusa, California. Dr. Mraz treated her with her progesterone to reverse her RU46 and save her baby's life. So here's Becky and her son, Zechariah.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon, San Francisco. I am so excited to be here, walking for life with all of you today. It's so ironic to me. I attended the walk last year, and I stood exactly where you guys are all standing, and I never in a million years thought I would be up here on this stage sharing my abortion testimony with 50,000 people, but here I am. I've learned that that's kind of how God works. His plans are always a little bit different than my own. But the abortion testimony you're about to hear is probably a little bit different than the one you're used to hearing, but it's one that I believe will instill a sense of hope and encouragement. I became pregnant with my first child at the age of 17 during the summer before my senior year of high school. And the pregnancy came as a total shock to me, but abortion was never really an option, as I had considered myself rather pro-life at the time. With my for my family, I, in 1 year, graduated high school early, delivered my son Elias, married his father, and immediately started school at Sacramento State University. Finally, my life is making sense. But fast forward 10 months ahead, and I had a stressful first year of college nearing its end, a marriage that was now over, and my young son tucked somewhere in between. In the midst of all of the chaos, I discovered that I was pregnant yet again on February 13, 2013. I will never forget that day. I sat there alone, shocked and scared, staring at a positive pregnancy test, thinking this cannot be happening again. I had just proved to my entire family and everyone else that I was not just another statistic. I was headed down a promising path, attending college and caring for my son, all at just 18 years old. To make matters more complicated, we were living in my parents' home, and I knew that the rule was, if I were to get pregnant again, we were going to be forced to leave. Torn between the life of my unborn child and my 11-month-old, I decided that I was going to have an abortion, as I believed it was the only way to not further disappoint anyone and to not further complicate my education. At just 5 weeks pregnant with my second child, I sought out a chemical abortion. Yet little did I know God had other plans. You see, as I reflect back on those first few weeks, I see, without a doubt, that God set barriers, making it difficult for me to go through the plan to terminate my pregnancy. Now let me explain what I mean by that. You see, the first abortion clinic I visited after 5 weeks along was terrible and brief, yet still I probably would have terminated my baby on that day had they not told me they didn't give the abortion pill on Fridays. Though this seemed odd to me, I went ahead and made another appointment for the following week. However, a sudden family emergency left me unable to get there. The next week, I visited a Planned Parenthood clinic, but I've always had these terrible veins that doctors have never been able to draw blood from, and sure enough, I walked in, and the medical system was unable to draw my blood, so I was unable to take the abortion pill that day. I returned to that same clinic the following week at just 8 weeks pregnant. On March 13th, I sat down in a Planned Parenthood clinic and swallowed the R-46 abortion pill. I planned to finish the rest of the abortion at home the following evening as instructed. As soon as I got to my car, I felt intense regret, and all I could do was pray, telling God how sorry I was for doing such a thing. While still sitting outside of that clinic, I searched for some type of reversal on my phone, and it was then that I found abortionpillreversal.com, a site ran by a pro-life pregnancy center called Pulse, based out of San Diego. Their website advised anyone wanting to reverse the abortion pill to call, so knowing that I had nothing else to lose, I chose to do so. A nurse named Debbie answered my prayer to call and explained to me that 2 pro-life doctors had recently released a treatment to reverse the abortion pill, one that consisted of several weeks of progesterone injections. I could not believe what this nurse was saying. My thought was just, could there really still be hope for a child I had just tried to abort? With the help of this nurse and my sisters who I had confided in, I was able to locate a doctor, and within 24 hours of taking the first abortion pill, I had already begun the progesterone treatment for its reversal. When Planned Parenthood called to see why I had not returned to my follow-up ultrasound, I wanted to make sure that fetus, as they refer to them, had been successfully removed. I explained to them that I had changed my mind and was taking steps to reverse what I had initially intended to do. I was then told by the Planned Parenthood director that what I was doing was very risky, likely wouldn't work, and that my child could very well be deformed. You see, after taking an abortion pill in these clinics, these people are trained to tell you that there is no going back, and that your unborn child has already died, and you must finish the rest of the abortion. Thankfully, I was prepared to hear this, and I did not listen. On October 20th of 2013, I gave birth to my second son, Zachariah. He was born beautiful and perfectly healthy. As for the home I thought would be forced to leave, well, it was still our home. And as As for the education goals I thought would be impossible, those two are going strong, as I'm currently in my third year of college and now at a Christian university. I am so grateful for the way our story worked out, and I am proud to stand with the pro-life community that helped enable my son to survive the first stage of an abortion. With medical advancements like this, we are one step closer to ending this war on the unborn. I know what I just said to you probably sounds a little crazy, so I thought it would be best to show you what I've been talking about. It is my greatest joy to be able to introduce you to my son, Zachariah.
So when she said the abortion people told her was typical, it's not going to work, it's very risky, and your baby's sure to have birth defects. We've heard that over and over again. It shows that the fruit that they bear is totally corrupt, dishonest, and deceitful. So the next one is a patient in North Carolina, and this was a news segment on the local news station.
James knew at 6 tonight, a local doctor touting a new treatment that she says can reverse the abortion pill and save the life of the fetus.
CBS 19's Stefan Dingle spoke with the doctor and a pregnant woman who wanted to end her pregnancy and then reconsider.
So it just seemed like if there was any inopportune time for me to get pregnant, this was it.
Okay. Can you lie back? Pull this up for your feet.
Krystal West is a mother of 6, and adding another child wasn't necessarily in her plans. So she decided to end the pregnancy using the so-called abortion pill. It's a 2-step process, and after step 1, she had second thoughts.
When it comes to the medical field, where there's a will, there's always a way. And so I Google searched, if there was any possible treatment for undoing what I'd already done. It was too late. I couldn't throw the pill up. I couldn't get it out of my system.
No matter where you come from politically on the issue, these women are in crisis and are struggling. Sometimes people will make a decision and then they walk out of the room and in the light of day go, wow, I didn't mean to do this.
Less than a couple of hours after taking the pill, Krystal began to regret her decision as she came across this website, abortionpillreversal.com, which has a hotline of available nurses that connects her with local doctor Karen Pohalis.
We were able to see her and get the first progesterone shot into her about 25 hours after she had taken the pill, which was wonderful because the earlier you start, the better. It's very time sensitive. We have to fight the other medication. So this is a vial of the progesterone that we use in this protocol. The mifepristone doesn't directly attack the baby. So if we can give enough progesterone to keep the drug from getting to the receptors, if we can keep the placenta alive, there has been no cases of birth defects in the babies who have been born using this regimen.
Krystal had to wait 2 long days praying to find out if the baby had a heartbeat.
You can do nothing but sit there and think about it. Because all you do is you think. And you wonder, and you worry, and you stress.
Finally, on that Monday, she received an ultrasound at UVA Medical Center.
Absolutely amazing.
You can't feel that?
No, I can't feel that. I cried. I wasn't really thinking, There's no thoughts about that. It's relief. It was the biggest flood of relief that I probably ever felt.
You're doing a great job throwing up. Mine is not throwing up. You are doing a great job. And you're still smiling while throwing up. It's all good.
The chances of a baby surviving this procedure is 60-40. Krystal says she's glad she took the risk.
But what if your baby has birth defects? It's possible, but my baby will be alive. And that's a choice that I made. I don't feel like it was my place to decide whether or not the baby had a right to live.
Stefan Dingle, CBS 19 News.
Krystal West gets weekly checkups and baby is doing fine according to the doctor. Her pregnancy is being documented for data use. The abortion pill reversal is still experimental, as only 200 doctors worldwide participate in the program, and over 200 women since 2007 have tried it.
One comment there was that, like I've told you yesterday, there's really no risk of birth defects. But you said, what about birth defects? Well, it doesn't matter, my baby's still going to be alive. A real street wisdom, if you will, and that we kind of have to put things in perspective, that sure, anytime we do anything, that there may be risks to it, but if the chances that you're going to save a life, then it's probably worth it. Okay, there's one more. This is, we had a press conference at the National Press Club with Father Frank Pavone and Priest for Life. And the next segment is going to be about Andrea and her son Gabriel and her boyfriend and their story. Now you click on the arrow.
Little Gabriel is alive and well thanks to his mother's instincts and a medical breakthrough that can shut down an abortion. Andrea Minikini was studying nursing when she got the news she was pregnant. Reluctantly, she and her boyfriend decided to abort their baby.
Andrea was unsettled when she came to this clinic to get an abortion, but immediately after she swallowed the pill, she regretted what she had done.
I ran out and actually started trying to throw up, but nothing would come out, nothing.
On a mission to save her baby, Andrea called several obstetricians and even went to her local emergency room. Doctors repeatedly told her there was no way out and that she would need to take the second abortion pill within 24 hours. After 2 sleepless nights, Andrea's mom discovered the abortion reversal hotline and a local doctor who said she might be able to help. The doctor found the baby's heartbeat and a break in Andrea's placenta.
The baby had, instead of going towards it, he had gone away from it. He had curled up in a little ball.
The doctor immediately began the reversal process. It involves flooding a woman's body with progesterone, the pregnancy hormone. It blocks the deadly effects of mifepristone, found in the abortion pill RU486.
These are hormones that essentially the woman's body has in it anyway, and we're just supplementing that.
Dr. Matt Harrison created the protocol 9 years ago when a patient came to him soon after taking the first dosage of RU486.
And she said, I will do whatever it takes to save my baby. And that was just such a powerful message coming from her. Someone who had just taken a medication to end her baby's life, realized immediately that she had done something that she didn't want to do. And I was like, you know what? I have no idea what to do. This is not something that they teach you in medical school. This is not, they don't give you an antidote to abortions.
Harrison's discovery takes advantage of a 2-day gap between the taking of the first and second abortion pills. The reversal must begin within 3 days of taking the first pill and before taking the second. So far, it has helped 87 mothers deliver healthy babies and another 74 who are expecting. But not everyone succeeds. About 40% have failed in their hope of reversing their abortion. Dr. Lewis Lipscomb has tried 4 times and says it can be tense.
It's a bit nerve-wracking because we're all on pins and needles just hoping that the next 2 or 3 weeks are going to go smoothly for her.
The question of birth defects is a tough one. So far, all the moms who have successfully gone through the process have delivered healthy children. In the meantime, they expect Planned Parenthood and other abortion supporters to push back against the life-saving technique.
They have a very powerful machine out there that will make fun of this, they'll attack it, say that it's junk science, say that it's junk medicine, say that it's not FDA approved. They'll do whatever they can to try to combat it.
Father Frank Pone, the National Director of Priests for Life, is working with Dr. Harrison to raise awareness by distributing reversal kits to healthcare workers and pro-life advocates.
The technique gives us hope. The reversal technique gives us hope that, first of all, we can say to her, it's not too late. We can save your baby.
To help them to turn the ship around and to love them, regardless of what they did yesterday, and really to help them to learn to love their baby is very exciting.
Today, little Gabriel and his mom are thriving thanks to family support and a life-saving procedure that could potentially help millions of other women reverse a life-altering decision. Heather Sells, CBN News.
That X to shrink it down. And she's been a really great witness. So just to update our numbers, because some of these, of course, were done in the past, we've had 91 births and still have about 75 pregnant, and over 270 doctors in our network. Over 800 phone calls have come to our hotline. Women calling from 45 different states and 13 foreign countries. So now I think we do have time for a few questions. Okay, since I won't be at the panel, so I'm open to questions. You have to speak up. You way in the back, I'm gonna have to talk really loud. Right, so the question is, this is getting more and more accepted, and as people learn about it, except for those who have an inherent bias, and those are the people who are biased against life, they're not accepting it. So 2 states have introduced legislation, have passed laws that require abortion clinics to tell women that there is a possibility of reversal, and those 2 states are Arkansas and Arizona. Those laws have not yet come into effect yet. They come into effect, I think, 30 or 90 days after the current legislative session ends in each respective state. So in the next 3 months or so, those laws will come into being. And my opinion is each state has to work this out differently depending on the particulars of that state. The most important thing to me is that I feel that it's a right for every woman who is undergoing the medical abortion procedure. It's her right to know that there is a possibility of a reversal. And I think whatever it takes. I certainly think that education is probably the best way to do it and to get the word out, and because there are always unintended consequences of laws. And certainly in these states, they felt it was the best way to go, and I think they certainly have the right to do that as a state.
Can you just comment in terms of your talk yesterday? You mentioned that you could use the vaginal or the oral progesterone, but and you said that some of the early data suggested it was as good as the injectable. And given the fact that the injectable, obviously there's pain, and come back, and make it more difficult for people to comply, why are you not pushing that more? And also, if you can comment on the costs, our insurance is covering progesterone.
Sure, so 2-part question. First is, I made a comment yesterday, some preliminary data analysis. These were data from 2014 that the oral progesterone looked as good as the injectable, and indeed it did. We're hesitating to make a recommendation to go totally towards that because we want to gather more data. We want to do a little more sophisticated analysis, which we're doing right now. So we're kind of in the middle of it. So I think it's premature to really make a declaration about our data right now. So because of the long history with injectable progesterone, we're still advocating that as the first protocol. However, though, if there's any trouble getting the injectable progesterone, or if the woman does not want shots, by all means, please use the oral or the vaginal. Don't hold up anything because of any kind of a delay in getting the injectable. So and there's many doctors who start them on oral or vaginal, and then they get the injectable a few days later and then start that. So I think that's perfectly appropriate. This is not a controlled trial. We really are watching what doctors are doing all across the country, and then we're going to look at the data and see what rises to the top, and then we will make a definitive recommendation. As far as the funding of this, for women who do have insurance, doctors are billing the insurance for it and using codes for, there's a ICD-9 code for threatened abortion, and that's exactly what this is. So there's a threatened abortion code you could use for that, and you can bill for it. And many insurances will cover the injectable progesterone. In our state, the Medicaid program does not cover injectable progesterone, so our ministry foots the costs for that. We recommend in other areas that you look at pregnancy resource centers who may be able to underwrite that. But our abortion pill reversal program is committed that if any patient across the country does not have funding one way or the other and can't afford it, that we will fund the cost of that and we'll underwrite the cost for the progesterone. As far as how much it'll cost for the injected progesterone, depending on where you get it, for the whole treatment, it's going to be anywhere from about $150 to $400, depending on how long they're on the progesterone and where you buy the progesterone. Okay.
Is there any way to reverse Plan B or Ella, the other abortion pills?
The question is, any way to reverse Plan B or Ella? So Plan B is a progestin, and so it's totally different. It's not an anti-progesterone, it's not a progesterone receptor blocker. The progestin actually binds to the progesterone receptors and causes progesterone-like effects. So we really don't have an antidote for that. Ella, on the other hand, which is the newest released, quote, morning after pill, it is a progesterone receptor blocker. It is very similar to mifepristone. So we could theoretically reverse the effects of Ella with progesterone. The difference, though, is that both Ella and Plan B are taken soon after intercourse when the woman really doesn't know if she's pregnant yet. So the timing is a lot different, and so it could be difficult. But if you had a woman who came in regretting that she took Ella, certainly I would treat with progesterone right away.
How can all of us here help you? What's your biggest need? Or
yeah, how can we really have three needs. One is to get the word out to the public in general so that patients who are in this predicament know about us. Number two, get the word out to the medical community and to the pregnancy medical clinic community so that more of them join our network. And three, if you know any benefactors who would want to help us, we really are in the need for that, because right now we're expanding our hotline. We're having now to pay our nurses because we need more of them. The call volume is increasing. And we need some help with physician recruitment. We're hiring someone this summer to help recruit more physicians into our network, as well as to help fund our data analysis and things like that. So getting the word out and getting the word out to benefactors would be our biggest.
The second news clip that you showed up there, the newscaster commented that this is experimental. I would hope at this point with the positive numbers you have, it would be very safe to say this is not experimental.
Right, yeah, at this point I would say it's not experimental. We've had enough women who've taken it that we see that it's very safe. It's just an extension of the use of progesterone in the area of threatened abortion. And so you're right, at this point I would say it's not, should not be considered experimental.
I work in emergency medicine. Have you made any headway or tried to approach Catholic hospitals in areas where you already have physicians in your network? You know, there are protocols for, methotrexate for ectopic pregnancies and for, morning after contraception for rape because the law allows it. Why can't we develop protocols for women who want to come into the emergency department, especially if we can arrange follow-up with doctors that are in your network so we know that they will get very comprehensive follow-up?
Right, so the comment and the question is concerning emergency departments. Why can't we get this protocol into emergency departments, and what are we doing? We have had overtures to 3 different emergency departments that we're working on to try to get this implemented, to use them as pilot programs. And so far we haven't quite gotten them off the ground, mostly because of the concerns that this is so novel. So if any of you work in emergency departments or have connections with emergency departments, we'd love to talk to you. And please send me an email or give me a call, because we definitely want to do that. I talked about our 4-pronged approach, and one is for emergency departments, the other primary care, OBGYNs, and pregnancy resourcing. So we see the emergency department as an ideal setting because they're open all the time. A lot of times these women call in the middle of the night. It'd be just as easy for them to go down to the emergency department and get going.
You actually have an 800 number hotline for any state you might be in at the time that they can just pick up a phone and call a hotline and be directed to where.
Yes, we do. It's on our website, and it's 877-558-0333. So it's a 24/7 hotline. That is for emergencies or urgencies. So for women who have taken it, they call that. Or if you have a client or a patient who's in this situation, please use the hotline. If it's more of an administrative question, we have an administrative number on our website, and it's also on my card.
Do you have a brochure in terms of increasing awareness? Is there an actual brochure to be
Yes, there is. We have a trifold brochure, and if you're interested in that, please, you can go to our website and send us an email. We'll send you as many of those as you want. It explains the whole program.
Hi, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. I had no idea this was out there. As far as the women who it's unsuccessful in saving their pregnancies, is there any kind of follow-up with them in terms of how they're doing emotionally, if they followed up with getting post-abortion counseling?
Question is, what about the follow-up for women whose reversals are unsuccessful? Yes, we follow up with them as long as they want us to, and we try to connect them with post-abortion counseling and with the crisis pregnancy centers, PRCs in their areas, so that they have a very smooth landing and they can continue their lives hopefully on a better path. And those women who have had failed reversals, though, I must add, they have a different outlook on life. And the comments we receive from them are that they are just so grateful that they at least had an opportunity to try to reverse what they had done. So even though they're not successful, they do feel a much greater peace in their heart because they had that chance, that second chance.
Reacted to it through fear or whatever it is that motivated them. And if they know that it's still possible, and the day after, maybe the sort of awareness in their own heart, in their soul, that they've done something wrong, I know there'll be a lot more people. And I think if this is an act of mercy, in fact, it is one of those incredible acts of mercy, because you know, when a bullet is fired and a person is in the direct line and is being hit, in this case, if there's a way to block, almost like a extraordinary force, this is a way of so I kind of imagine that you actually protect a life. And I think this is God's given gift to us. It's a gift of mercy to those who made a decision quickly because of fear, worry, whatever it was, and yet there's a chance to reverse it. Thank you.